Hello, my name is Carissa and I'll be presenting about my study on the effect of second language learning on the acquisition of a third language rhythm pattern. Learning a language is never an easy task. Other than learning the language's sound inventory, one must also learn the language's rhythm. Rhythm arises from the timing of syllables dictated by language-specific stress patterns. Each language will have different rhythms, but traditional views of rhythm classify languages into three main classes: syllable time, stress time, and mora timed. Syllable time languages are languages like Spanish and French. Stress time languages are languages like English and German, and mora time languages are languages like Japanese. Previous studies show that if your L1 has a similar rhythm pattern to a target second language, then it would help the learner acquire that target language's rhythm. But what if someone has been exposed to more than one language before? Is it possible that the more languages someone learns, the better they are at learning another language? And are all language transfers equally strong in L3 learning? We won't be answering all these questions in this study, but we'll get started on an investigation to address a specific research question. Does training in an L2 with a similar rhythm to an L3 help in the acquisition of that L3? In this study, we chose French as the L2 and Indonesian as the L3, because they are both syllable time languages. In this study, the target of L3 acquisition was 5 different Indonesian sentences taken from a language textbook. We had a native Indonesian speaker produce these 5 Indonesian sentences. We also had a native French speaker produce 5 French sentences that were generated in the same way as the Indonesian sentences. Next, we recruited 6 French learners at the UO and 6 English-only speaking undergraduate students. The French learners were recruited from the French 202 class during winter term. The English-only speakers may have taken language classes before, but only in high school. The participants' task was to hear the recorded Indonesian or French sentence and repeat it to the best of their ability. Each sentence was heard and repeated 10 times, with their order randomized and blocked by language. The order of language was randomized as well. Afterwards, the sentences they produced were acoustically segmented into consonant and vowel intervals according to the method done by Ramos et al. In 1999. This is very time-consuming work, and so only the segmentation of Indonesian sentences has been completed. Interval durations were then extracted to calculate articulation rate and several rhythm measures, including the percent vowel duration, which is calculated by dividing the total vowel duration by the total phrase duration minus any pause duration, and the coefficient of variation of consonant and vowel duration, also referred to as delta C and delta V respectively, which is the standard deviation of the consonant and vowel durations. Based on the measures calculated for Indonesian sentences, we found the following. There were statistically significant group differences in average articulation rate, delta V, and delta C, but not in the percent vowel produced. What was interesting is that in all those 3 measurements, the monolingual English speakers' production were closer to the native Indonesian speaker, compared to the French learner's production. We suspect there might be 2 explanations as to why this might be. Firstly, the French learners might have interferences from either French, English, or both. Secondly, a study done by Orden and Polyanskaya in 2015 found that learners will exhibit a syllable time-like rhythm during early stages of L2 acquisition, regardless of their native language. Since Indonesian is a syllable time language, this could explain why the monolingual's production were similar to the native Indonesian speaker. Combined with the first explanation, it would explain why the French learners couldn't perform as well, due to the interferences. We will begin to pull apart these explanations when segmentation of the French sentences is complete. And we see that although we expect French learner to produce more fluent French sentences than English-only speakers, as measured by articulation rate, it's possible that the rhythm metrics do not distinguish between the groups, if English-only speakers adopt a syllable-timed rhythm by default when producing a foreign language. We have also begun to recruit another group of speakers, English-speaking learners of German. German is a stress-time language like English, so it will be interesting to see how they compare to the French learners in their production of Indonesian sentences. If interference matters, they are expected to be the same as, or probably worse, than French learners in their initial production of Indonesian sentences. Thank you.